Strategic planning is the process where the direction where the organization wants to go will be identified. And then the objectives, what the organization is trying to accomplish, will be identified. Then the methods of how to accomplish them will be determined. And finally, the performance measure. How can we measure the performance of the organization to ensure they are actually achieving the objectives and they are working toward achieving the mission and vision of the organization? So when we are speaking about the vision, what is the meaning of the vision of the organization? The vision of the organization will identify exactly what the organization is trying to accomplish over the long term perspective. So if the vision of your organization is to feed every child on earth, that's the long-term perspective. Then we discuss the mission, what they are going to do. What are the methods for them to do it? They are going to, for example, launch the best effective programs in identifying the families that they need help and then providing the help to them. And then they will identify what we call the value statement. What is the value statement? It will define exactly the values of the individuals inside this organization while they are working toward achieving the vision and mission of your organization. So if you think about it in Ritz-Carlton, the value statement for the employees is ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. That will communicate to every employee how they need to behave, react, what they should do when they are interacting with customers. Then based on the vision, mission and value, organization will create their strategic plans, their long-term strategic plans, and then they establish their strategic objectives over the long term. Then they will decide their operational plans and they will go and decide what are their short-term objectives. And definitely based on all that, they will be able to determine their budgets, their resources, what they are going to need for them to be able to accomplish these plans. But let's think about it in order. For an organization to create strategic plan, what they need to do? First, they need to initiate the plan. They need to develop the plan. This is what we call planning. They need to decide what are the plans that they are going to have. And then second, they need to communicate them to the managers, to the employees. And finally, they need to do monitoring to ensuring that employees and managers are carrying the plans as needed. Like in any organization, without identifying the strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats, organization can't conduct effective strategic planning. Organizations should understand what kind of opportunities they have and what kind of strength they have so they can target these opportunities using their strength, as well as they understand what kind of threats they have and weaknesses, so they need to be able to work on their weaknesses and avoid these threats. Effective strategic planning is based on understanding the market, understanding exactly what are the external factors that are affecting our organization, understanding what are the core competencies that we have in our organization to accomplish our objectives. They say strategy can be your greatest risk if you don't understand how. First, to decide the direction that you want to take your organization in. Second, ensure that the execution of the strategy is done effectively. I hope that your organization will be able to capitalize on that when they are trying to accomplish their objectives. Now for us in control self-assessment, the important thing for us is to think about how can we use control self-assessment to help the strategic planning inside your organization.
So control self-assessment is very important because we can use it in strategic planning. So we can use control self-assessment to help us conduct, assessment over the strategic planning. So we can see the establishment, it can establish and help achieving the business objective that are aligned with the mission. So if my mission is to do this, is for example to provide a very fast, delicious, healthy meal, and I'm a restaurant actually, and this is what is my mission. So if this is my mission, the objective, what I am doing, the product that I'm introducing, the new objective that I have this year, next year, are they aligned with the mission of the organization or not? The second, focus resources on areas that are key to the organization's success and growth. Are we actually using the resources to make sure that we are focusing on achieving the goals of the organization or not? And establish criteria against that we can measure the progress of the objectives, so we can see based on what we are measuring the objectives to ensure we are achieving the objective, How are we communicating the established objective to the participant, as well as identify areas where we can maximize our profit? We look at our operation. Which product, which area, which process we can use to maximize our profit. That will help us when we are conducting process-based control self-assessment related to strategic planning. Now, how the organization is what we call measuring the performance. They say first you measure the performance, then you manage the performance to improve the performance. So first we say performance measurement to provide a systematic way for organizations to monitor the operational efficiency and effectiveness. So they will be able to understand what's going on, and they will be able to understand how they can improve it. It will. We can use different measures. We can use the efficiency. Are we efficient in achieving our objective? Are we effective? So when we are speaking about effective, the meaning of effective, we achieve our goals. Efficient, we achieve it with the minimum use of resources. Economy, with the cheapest cost. So are we achieving our objective looking at all these different measures? As well as focus on measurable aspect of performance. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So we need to understand what are you measuring so you can manage later. And performance measures should be updated as necessary. Sometimes some performance measures are outdated, so we need to focus on what's relevant to our business operation. Now, they say, if you want to have performance measure, the information should be reliable, relevant, timely, easy to understand and use, comparable, consistent, complete, and controllable. If you can't control, this information, it's not. Why are you measuring it? Because this is out of your control. So we always focus on linking the performance with areas that we can control. Now, for performance measures, we can use financial measures. So we can say how much profit, revenue we are generating, or non-financial measures, how many customers you are serving. We can focus on operational measures, how fast is the delivery process. Or we can focus on output measures, understanding how many passengers they took our flights, understanding how many kids we were able to serve. But sometimes we need to speak about the outcome measure. It's not always about the output, where it's measuring how many kids we were able to provide meal to. But the issue, the outcome, how many kids, because we provided meal to, they were able to survive, they were able to have a good life, they were able to improve. So we are focusing on the qualitative as well as quantitative measures when we are speaking about outcome compared to output. Now, management of the performance, which is we call performance management, it will come after performance measurement. So we say ensuring everyone in the organization is working to optimize the achievement of the objectives. Once we measure the performance, once we understand the key issues of the performance, now the next step is how can we manage it? How can we improve it? How can we make it better? So that can ensure the performance measures match the shareholders' expectations and needs, identify non-adding value activity in the process and taking it out of the process, as well as assess the performance through a benchmark or best practices. We can see what other organization is doing, the best practices, and how can we do it. So when we are speaking about performance optimization, to optimize the performance, first we look at what we call it, our production line. So we can see for certain input, we can get certain output. Now, what will happen? If you want to improve your output, the only way to do it is what? If we look at here, is only way to go through the line and improve your output. And this is not exactly what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to do a shift. We want to shift our production line so in that way for the same input we are getting higher output, or for the same output we need less input. This is called optimizing the performance. That's the main concept of optimizing the performance. How can we do it better, faster, cheaper, and in that way we maintain the same quality that we have for our customers. So this is the main concept of optimizing performance. If you want to optimize performance, if you want to improve the operation, definitely you need to do what we call change management. So what's change management? Dealing with a change often will make employees resist. So what we need to do, we need to learn, teach these employees to learn new skills, to adapt to new things for them to be able to move with the change. How can you reduce the resistance in the control self-assessment? Well, educate the employees about the important, the purpose, the process of control self-assessment, why and how it's going to help them in improving their operation and help them achieving their objectives. Second, seek feedback from the participant on how to improve the control self-assessment. If the first time we do it and it's not that effective, ask them how can we improve it next time? What can we do better? As well as align the control self-assessment with the business objectives. We are not doing control self-assessment to have fun here. We are doing it to assess the controls and risk to ensure you are gonna achieve your business objectives. Now, when we look at the structures inside the organization, we say organizational theory and behavior is based on understanding the structure. We have flat structure. Flat structure, we have few levels in the flat structure. So in that way, it's a very flat structure, few levels from top to bottom. Fast flow of information, of course, because the information can move very quickly, and high performance satisfaction. It's not like it's you and there are 50 levels to reach to the CEO. It's you and there are 3-4 levels to reach to the CEO. So in that way, it's a very nice environment inside the organization because the hierarchy is less. However, in that kind of organizations, flat structure, the problem solving is not as fast as in tall structure. So what is tall structure? It's large number of levels between top and bottom. So there are so many levels between top and bottom. Now, usually they have more formality because everything is gonna go up to the level after until it will reach to the top management. Top management will take it down, but more effective problem solving because that's it, it's done. Management, they will go and decide exactly what action need to be done and it will carry forward. Now, when we are speaking about the centralization and decentralization of decision making, there are two kinds. There are centralized organization, concentrate the decision making at the top level, they make the decision, it will come down, or decentralized where employees at lower level, they are making the decisions. So definitely their morale is much better because they are actually in control of their operation. There are other two kinds of organization. An organization that we call the mechanistic structure or organic structure. Mechanistic structure higher formal and strict controls. So everything is done according to the controls and the policies. Where organic structure, they have informal controls. They are more flexible. They are adapted to change. So if you think about the industry we are living in the old days when we are living in the industrial age, it's more everything is done by controls. They need to follow policy and procedures. Now, so many organizations operating like in an IT, they are operating in what? In organic organization, everything informal, it's open culture, more flexible, adaptable to change. Also, the structure can be simple for small business. It can be a small organization with low complexity, or it can be a linear structure where decision flow from top to bottom through a well-defined line of authority, like in what will happen in military. It can be a matrix organization, and this happens most likely in consulting, in training, like university organizations, where the structure is actually complex. So with matrix, what will happen? One manager is actually reporting to different managers inside the organization. And in that way, the reporting lines are like, mixed. So decisions flow from managers into different divisions. Now, at the same time, the structure of the organization can be what we call machine bureaucracy. So in that way, centralized structure, a stick chain of command, highly repetitive task being done. So this is what we call, like machine bureaucracy. This most likely will be in an entity like government entity or any organization that's doing processes. So in that way, it's step by step according to the policy, you need to follow certain chain of command. Now, professional bureaucracy is happening most likely in, like, let's say, it will be in hospitals, in universities, where decentralized structure, highly trained and specialized employees, like doctors, professors, they are in control of the operation and empowered to make decisions. They are making most of the decisions inside the organization. When we look at the management style, we say we have two kinds of management style. We have autocratic management and we have participative management. Now, if you are speaking about autocratic management, they make the decision themselves and issue orders without considering the emotions, the feeling, the opinion of the employees, as well as do not seek any input from these employees. They are making the decision on their own. But when we look at participative management, more democratic approach where employees are involved in the decision making. For you in control self-assessment, it's very important to understand the management style, the organization structure, the culture of the organization, the business objective, how performance is being measured and managed to conduct effective control self-assessment.